What were some of the things we had to line up before we ended up going to St. Kitts?
Troy's job was sell, make money. My job was prepare our family for this gigantic move. I had this baby needed a passport. These dogs needed to be shipped. Rabies titers, all the vaccines, they need incredibly legitimate USDA certificate, health certificate, import permits. And lining all of that up with like Amerijet, that was probably the biggest part. Financial aid. For the road trip itself, I mostly just researched like, how do I make this easier on my baby?
We had to go from California all the way to Florida. We ended up renting a minivan.
The pumping schedule and feeding, we took more breaks, and we stopped every 3 hours. So long road trips, at least 10 hours of driving a day, weren't a lot for me and Troy. But again, we had this 5-month-old baby to consider. Our dogs, they travel really well. Although I don't think they were a fan of the minivan, actually. I don't think they were a fan.
We drove through Arizona, where we were able to spend time with some family. We went through New Mexico and Texas and Louisiana and Alabama and then Florida.
We would just hit a different location every day, stay in a hotel that night.
What a long drive.
When we got to Miami, we had to take the dogs to Amerijet's cargo hangar and drop them off the night before our flight. I cried dropping them off there in their kennels. It was a loud warehouse type thing, and they looked utterly terrified and confused, and I just remember leaving them and just crying because this was so scary, this was so new, and I mean, there was this chance that something could go wrong. That was terrifying to me because, again, the weight of what I'm putting my family through to follow through with a dream that I want to make happen for myself. And then that morning we went to the airport, Miami airport, and with all of our luggage and Owen, and that was the first time I met up with Rossi's at Miami. So I met up with my group. Oh, we almost missed that flight though.
Yeah, we did.
We had a horrible time at the airport the next morning. We got to the terminal and we made our flight. Owen handled it really well, but this whole time I'm just kind of holding my breath because I know that Amerijet, their plane, had arrived in St. Kitts before we'd get there, about 2 hours or so before we'd get there. And so this whole time I'm just thinking of my girls, like, oh my gosh, I hope they're okay, I hope they're okay. And so we got to the airport and went through customs and everything and came down these escalators, and I saw our 2 big crates right there. My heart just leapt, and I got over there as soon as I could, and there they were shaken, they were completely confused, like, what's going on, but they were alive and safe. Just the fact that we had safely gotten our family to the island, that we made it there, that was such a huge focus for me, and that was a lot of work and preparation on my part to have accomplished that.
We ended up having 9 pieces of luggage. Only 3 of them had made it. That was a little bit rough. What were some of our biggest surprises about coming to St. Kitts?
This island is beautiful. I love this island. It's so nice.
Every day I'm in awe and seeing the view.
I really like living here. The weather is perfect for me, and just both of the oceans and the mountains.
Knowing the Atlantic is right here and the Caribbean is right there, and then having a chance to see a beautiful sunset every day. We just got over Emily's semester break, and we spent so much time at the beach. We spent time hiking. We were able to see some of the cool sights on the island.
We haven't experienced hurricane season here yet. But otherwise, this is a beautiful island. I love this. It's a developing country, and I've never lived in a developing country, or I think it's technically a third world country. That is different, but also beautiful in and of itself. I did not expect it to be as expensive here.
It's hard to budget here. If you want to make a certain meal, it's not uncommon to have to go to 2 or 3 different grocery stores to be able to get all of the items that you need for that meal.
I think a gallon of milk is like $8 US.
You drive on the left side of the road and you're on the right side of the vehicle. They have this idea of rush slowly and island time. Well, that doesn't really apply to the roads here. It was really hard on me having Owen learning how to crawl and then learning how to walk and have tile floors. Felt like maybe just a bad parent because he would fall back and hit his head. We had a lot of mosquitoes. How did COVID affect our experience in St. Kitts and with Ross University?
One day in March, we were in class and we received this email saying that COVID has become a pandemic and that they've decided to let the students who wish to go home, go home. There was a lot of unknown as to how bad the pandemic would get or how bad it would get on this island, especially with the limited supplies that they do have. And especially being a mom of a young baby, we're like, should we leave the island? Should we stay here? Ultimately, I don't think we wanted to feel stranded in St. Kitts.
COVID's been rough, right? Let's just be real. It's been life-changing for everybody.
I felt more at ease with the idea of going back.
At the end of March, we had booked 1 or 2 flights from Delta and they both ended up getting canceled. So we thought, oh, I guess maybe we're stuck here. Fortunately, not long after, Ross was developing some charters to send students home. We were able to set up Maya and Lexi as ESAs, emotional support animals, so they could fly. But then we made it from Charlotte, and then from Charlotte, we were able to make it back home.
Troy and I decided to divide and conquer, so to speak. Troy went to California to work his butt off and make our family some money, and I went to Idaho to my parents' place where I had the familial support I needed to do school from home.
COVID's been rough, right? Presented a lot of challenges and obstacles.
School online sucks. This time is, I think, teaching us how to adapt or teaching us that we need to adapt, and so I adapted. It was really tough being under the same roof as my child, because if he would cry, I'd probably hear him. It required a lot more discipline, I think, on my part, but it was tough. It was difficult to separate Troy and Owen, but we just made a routine of...
And you and me?
Oh.
In some ways, it provided some opportunities.
Ensure Troy could work by moving back to the States. I had my beloved sister Camille help watch Owen almost every day. My parents were there too. It was really nice to have that kind of refuge and yeah, just support during a time of all sorts of unknown and limbo. But we tried to maintain a routine of Marco Polos and calls, and we had a few rendezvous.
It was hard to be away from Emily and from Owen and Maya and Lexi. Sometimes where Emily and I are at our best is when we do make sacrifices for the greater good, where we just have to rise to the occasion.
In the pandemic, I just had this thought that, like, Troy and I, when we work as a team, like, we can take on anything. Troy had a fantastic, successful summer.
I'm going pretty strong right now. I'm at 10, so I just want to keep going. I want to make sure I get to at least 15 today, just to keep that streak going. I think it's a good streak to have, so may as well keep rolling with it. But I sure love you. It's so hot. It's 140 degrees, so it's been so hot today.
I did well
You
in
passed.
school. I passed. I'm still here. And Owen got to experience a beautiful summer in Idaho and build relationships with his grandma and Bonga and aunts. And
Ride
aunts and
four-wheelers.
uncles. We rode four-wheelers. That was
Horses.
like his exposure to tractors, which he's obsessed with now. We rode horses. We were exposed to animals and things. And Maya and Lexi loved being there. It was cold at first. It was a beautiful summer. It was a difficult summer, but it was beautiful.
We went from St. Kitts to Idaho, and then I went to California, and then after Idaho we went to Arizona in the fall. We went back to Idaho and then back to St. Kitts January 9th, I think is, we had set a few flights but they got canceled. We eventually got back to the island January 9th to do our 2-week quarantine.